like way up in the air. Okay. Good Friday evening. That was impromptu. Good Friday evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 4, part 2 of Talks with Tay. We're going to be featuring the lovely Danielle Peartree this evening. Danielle is our client care coordinator at Austin Family Counseling, and she is just the loveliest person I have personally ever met. She has one of the best senses of humor that I have ever encountered. And if you want to, how do I say this? Let me just say she'll make you laugh until you cry. She's a good friend to have. Okay. Danielle, I'm going to... Austin's here too! Hello, Austin. Okay. All right, Danielle, I'm going to invite you on here. The invite. So.
Oh.
Do it. You're sideways.
My sideways? Okay, hold on. I was like,
really, you're real sideways. Okay. Okay, now you're not.
okay.
All right, dude, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh.
Thank you for having me on. That's so exciting.
My face is already hurting. Oh my God. I'm smiling so hard. Okay. Okay, who are all these people in the chat? Do you know these people?
I do know them all. We've got Josh Killam, and then Zach is from elementary school. Hi, Zach. And Tori's from my college. So excited.
Wow, so many Danielle fans. Good to know that it's not the AFC family who is the only fan club. Yeah. That you have other fan members that are out there in the world other than us.
I think they probably the live video notification. We're like, what is she doing?
I think they're just all obsessed with you as well. So, and I think they share that obsession with us too. So they're just a group of us. We just love you to pieces.
Yeah, like
we're gonna go with that, Danielle. Well, I appreciate your time and just this hour of your time on a Friday evening. And I'm gonna go ahead and introduce you real quick. So this is the lovely Danielle Peartree, viewers, which I love your last name. Like,
so I have that we had a doctor call the intake line the other day. And he said, you know, what's your name? And I said, oh, it's Danielle Peartree. And he goes, I bet life has gone well for you with that name. And I was like, I mean, you know, it's been okay, yeah. And I was like, but I have to tell you that, you know, in a few months, my last name's going to be Anchorman. It's my fiance's last name. And he goes, excuse me? I was like, yeah. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, oh my gosh, like what the heck? But yeah.
How do you respond to that?
Right. I understand. Anchorman's not the most common name, but yeah, I'm excited to be Anchorman, even though it's going to be a little bit of a name change.
Right. No, absolutely. Okay, my whole face is hurting. This is Danielle. I'm like crying. This is Danielle, and Danielle graduated from Concordia University, Texas, in 2019 with a bachelor's degree in psychology and religious education. Super dope. Danielle plans to attend graduate school in the near future to continue her education and receive her master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. Areas of expertise. So Danielle works as the client care coordinator at AFC, Austin Family Counseling. As the client care coordinator, she works to create a warm and welcoming first step into the counseling process for AFC clients. And very true, I just had a thought. Danielle is like the very first person that people ever talk to whenever they call in. And so that experience with Danielle is crucial.
Yeah.
Danielle plays a very, very important role. So Danielle helps new clients. I'm like out of breath from laughing so hard. Okay.
Deep breath. Oh, come on. Practice your next time.
I'm like so excited and hyper, like I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Danielle helps new clients find the best counselor to meet their needs and schedules initial appointments. Danielle also leads a support group at the Austin Center for Grief and Loss for elementary age kiddos who have experienced the loss of a loved one. So, fun fact about Danielle is Danielle loves to rock climb, go camping, and read. So, and she has some lovely pictures on this flyer. So if you guys have not seen the flyer, you need to go see the flyer.
Right.
And so, Danielle, just going off of this fun fact about yourself, I know that rock climbing is so big for you and Austin, I think.
Yeah, we actually started rock climbing in January of this year, so it's a new passion. But as a person who just like loves achievement, maybe you can like vibe with me on that. Getting to the top of like a rock climb, bro, it's like the best feeling. It's like it's the A+ that I need in my life since I'm not in school anymore. But it is such a fun way to get a good workout, and we climb at Crux climbing gym. They are just like the most like loving, amazing community there. So it's such a good time.
That's awesome. So you really love like getting to the top. That's gotta feel so good. Like I can't imagine.
You have to go. Remember, you get a free like guest once a month. So like anyone who wants to go, please message me, especially you, Taylor, and we'll take Garrett too, and we'll go rock climbing.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Hi, Leo Queen, in the comments.
I love it. AFC
a fan. No, what the heck? You just got fans in the comments. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we were talking about rock climbing. And how like much of a bad A Danielle is. So okay, there was something on the website that I wanted to mention on here. It says, so on our website, it says that outside of work, we can find you reading, rock climbing, visiting national parks, camping, spending time with your fiance and friends, and then daydreaming about owning 10 golden retrievers.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So
can you clarify?
Yes. So I love dogs. I love any kind of dogs. Most of my time is spent daydreaming about having a dog and showing pictures to Austin and being like, "Are you sure you don't want to get one now?" And he confirmed that. And so once we get married, the plan is to get a golden retriever puppy and train it up to be a animal-assisted therapy dog. So I'm so excited, and I can't wait to have 10 animal-assisted therapy dogs. Our big, in the best way.
You're gonna have like a wolf pack.
Yeah.
A golden retriever pack.
Imagine walking into a therapy room surrounded by golden retrievers. You're immediately better.
That's dog therapy. You're releasing all kinds of dopamine. That's a thing. That's a real thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you imagine? Makes my heart so happy. So tell us all about your journey of becoming the client care coordinator at Austin Family Counseling.
I can, it's kind of a mouthful, client care coordinator. So, I kind of always wanted to be, not always wanted, we'll get in this probably, but I haven't always wanted to be a therapist. But once I graduated with my degree in psychology, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for grad school yet. I kind of want to get a little bit of experience, see, the world a little bit, and then maybe decide on grad school, because there's also just like not a lot of information on what grad school is like and or anything like that. So, I was applying to jobs, and really like it was such a hard process. And maybe, I think you'll probably understand there's not a ton of jobs for undergrad psychology students. It's like maybe retail, but that's kind of like it. So I was looking for jobs and just kind of having a hard time of it. And actually, Austin and I, as couples therapists, Lauren, who is the most amazing therapist besides I love my individual and our couples therapist the same. But Lauren was like, oh, I'll keep my ear to the ground for you and, you know, see what I can find. And so she sent me actually a office manager post from AFC, and I applied, did the interviews, was so nervous, and got the job as an office manager. And so I worked as an office manager for probably like 6 or 7 months. And then after that, started client care coordinating or doing most of the intakes for AFC. And it has been bliss and history since then.
That's awesome. You know, so I got to AFC
around
like a day after you, I think. Like, 2 days maybe.
You were like, so how do I schedule a client? And I was like, let's figure that out together.
I remember you saying that. You said you were like, I feel so bad because you just told me you were feeling really bad because like we were looking to you for answers that, bless your heart, you were trying to figure it out too. I can't imagine.
I'm a bond now, and it's a strong effort. We made it.
Oh my gosh. And, you know, so kind of getting hired at the same time as you. And I think, you know, the pack before us could probably attest to this more, but out of all the changes that we have had at Austin Family within the last
year and a half,
yeah, I think your role has changed the most, like you and the roles around you, because I feel like it's like the place has grown so much that your role just as office manager, one person could not handle that anymore. It became like a 5-person job.
5-person. I mean, yeah, like the thing is when I started, everyone was virtual. So like you'd go into the office and literally see those, like, what are those things that go across the road? Those like dust balls, because there's like literally nobody has been in the office for 8 months. Like the sand tray unused. Like none of the things have been used.
Why'd you have to go there, Danielle? Why'd you have to get that specific?
Of being the sand tray being open, Taya, okay? But you know, it was a little bit of a different story doing like the office manager stuff when there was no office. It was mostly just managing like the admin stuff. And like you mentioned, therapy in general, but a lot of AFC too has just completely like skyrocketed in the last year and a half. I think COVID has really pushed a lot of people to be like, okay, A, I have to get therapy because like I can't deal with this. And B, therapy's just become more normalized in general, which is great. And so because of that, the client care coordinator role has also like really grown and become really a full-time job too. So I'm super looking forward to having an operations manager to join the team and kind of rock all the office manager stuff as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess, and this kind of leads into the like second part of that question. Tell us a little bit more about the best part of your job and then the hardest part of your job.
Totally. Yeah. So we'll start with hardest because we can end on best then. But the hardest part of my job is really what we were just talking about, because it's gotten so busy at AFC and you, as much as I do, having to turn clients who want therapy away because we just don't have room is the worst feeling in the world. Because you obviously want to care and support for these amazing clients who are coming to AFC and who are ready to start their therapy journey. And unfortunately, sometimes the best thing that you can do for them is refer them out to someone who has more room versus like giving them to a clinician who is just like, you know, overworked, because we have so many amazing people.
Right.
But because of that, yeah, I would say the hardest part is having to turn people away and refer out, because I just want them to experience our amazing clinicians.
Everybody's so full and busy. You know, I didn't think about that. That didn't cross my mind for some reason. I thought what I expected you to say was the busyness of your role. And I'm sure that's a very close second. But yeah, you know, you have such a big heart. And now that you say that, that also like does not surprise me one bit. But that's hard. That's got to be real hard because we have
27 clinicians, if that's the one you're looking for.
Yeah, it is the one we're looking. Yeah, and I can't, imagine what it feels like to be like, yeah, we have this many, and they're like all full.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys do it too all the time, right? Like, how many emails have you gotten that you have to, sorry, I just don't have room? It's on of therapy becoming so normalized is that the demand has so much outrocketed our supply because we just didn't know it was going to be like this,
Yeah, like we could not have anticipated this at all. Yeah. And then what about the best part?
Yes. So the best part is that, as you mentioned, I'm the first person that they kind of talk to before scheduling an appointment. So like when someone has just decided I'm going to try therapy, I'm the first person they get to talk to. And that is like the biggest honor in the world, right? To have to be that first step for someone and to like kind of hold their hand into the process. And also just like the seeing, and you know this too, but the clients like bravery and sharing these like incredibly hard things that they have going on in their life. And like I think about it and I'm like, I don't know if I could tell like this random intakes person like my whole life and what's going on, but they do. And like it is such a honor for them to share that and to be able to connect them with someone. And all of the therapists that I've seen just trusted my whole heart. And so to say, like, this person's going to take care of you. Like, I know that this person's going to really take care of you. So, yeah, I think that's definitely the best part.
That's cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
You're just leaving me speechless over here. And I'm like a chatterbox to a fault. So I'm over here like emotions. You have a question from Sarah. I'll read it to you. So Sarah goes, Danielle, I have a question. I can literally hear her saying that. I don't know about you. I can hear her saying that. She's so funny. How do you keep such a level head all the time? You are cool as a cucumber in the face of so much going on. I would be flailing around aimlessly. Ha ha ha. I have to pronounce a ha ha.
Sarah, it's like the best thing I've ever imagined in my life. Well, thank you, Sarah. So sweet. I think I have a couple things. One is that y'all know Kirby Schroeder, and she is my queen. She is everything to me, and she is really good at taking like the emotional like that sometimes you feel in the role and being like, it's fine. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. And so like, I think, being kind of process the emotional, stressful parts with her has been such a help. And then sort of the same thing with my fiance, Austin. He is a super, super level-headed, calm, patient, good listener who can kind of help me process like just all the emotions that come from it. So I think those two. I also like thrive in the busyness. I think that's the other part of it. It's just kind of where I like to be. So yeah, thanks for the question, Sarah.
It's a great question. So how has it been being a client care coordinator during a pandemic?
Woo! Girl, it's been tough, but we're moving along. The I don't know if I should call it fun, but the interesting part of as a client care coordinator is that I'm really front of seeing a lot of patterns. I love to see like how things are rising and falling. And so, it's been tough in that there's a lot of people who are going through a lot of tough things. And in that, it's been really cool to normalize like the experience of these clients. So for example, got a lot of like 3 to 10-year-olds just like hitting people like left and right. Like there are lots of kiddos who are very like aggressive and like, it's so the parents are calling in like, oh my gosh, we're going to get kicked out of our elementary school. Like we can't, like we got to come to counseling. And they're really stressed about it a lot of the time, really like nervous about getting kicked out of their elementary school. And it's super helpful to be like, Mom, like, it sounds like your kid's like experiencing a pandemic and really just having a tough time. And, you know, they're processing in the way they know how, because they don't like get to go out after work. They get to come home and go to bed. And so, you know, it makes sense. And the parents have really been like, oh, other children too? And I'm like, yes, other children too. I bet you do that as well with your kiddos and teens.
Say that one more time.
I bet you've experienced that too with your kiddos and your teens.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. Like, part of the parent work that I've been doing is just reassurance of like, it is like, it's not just your teen, it's not just your kid. And I like take a moment to say, this is me letting you know as a therapist. Like, I'm seeing this everywhere. Like, please just like trust me on this. It's not just your kid. And that, you know, I try to throw in some humor in there, you know, to make it a little bit lighter, but it's big because, you know, the parents, a lot of the work in parent work is just reassurance of your kid is going to be okay. Like, your kid, you know, we're working on these things and your kid is going to be okay.
Yeah, and you're doing enough as mom and dad. Like, you guys are doing, right? The reassurance of parents too, of like, you're gonna be okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Find the thing with your teens of like them asking, like, is it normal for me to be experiencing these emotions due to the pandemic? Are they kind of questioning it too?
Yes, I've had a lot of teens ask questions around dissociation. They're like, is it normal for me to stare at a wall for like 15 minutes? And I'm like, well, tell me more about that. Well, I will totally answer that, and let me ask you like a couple more questions first. I'm like, let's talk about how your day was. Like, you know, you did this at 7 o'clock in the evening. Let's talk about like 8 a.m. to 6:59. Like, let's go for your day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there is a lot of that though. A lot of, is this normal? What's normal? Like, that's the question I get a lot. What is normal? And that's a hard question. I mean,
yeah, I mean, we're going through something that does not have like a baseline, right? So like, who knows what's normal? We're in a pandemic. Like, we're all just trying our best. But yeah, I agree. It's helpful to normalize it for them and say, well, everyone else seems to be experiencing this too. So yeah.
So does your job influence your personal life in any way?
Yeah. I am unfortunately one of those people, and I guess you're like this too, that is just a really tough time separating life and work and not reading my emails at night. That's just like my kryptonite. I see some hearts in the chat. I hear it. Everyone down there is like, yeah, me too. With my night email readers down there. But yeah, I mean, of course, in that, like, I bring it home and I can't, like, as I've heard you say this in one of the previous talks with Tay, that like, you think about your clients, and even though they're not my clients, they're just my intakes afterwards. Like, I'm like, what happened to them? Did they have a good session? Like, so I mean, it impacts what I think about at home, but it also, you know, it really normalizes therapy too, and that everyone gets therapy, especially when you have people who you like might know who are looking for a therapist, and it makes therapy so much more normal. I think, working in the role.
Yeah. I just coughed. It's fine. So that made me just think of when I was looking for questions to ask during these talks before the talks happened. There was a question that it was just like an article I found on some website, but one of the questions that was asked was, you know, do therapists think about their clients after the session? And this person said no. And I was like,
the therapist?
Yeah, or the author? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was like a therapist person. But I was like,
you were like, that's a lie.
Who wrote this? Like, but I didn't write it, that's for sure. the explanation was like, when you're seeing like 30 to 40 people a week, you don't have time to like, and in that context, I could understand that. Like, that's more understandable. But yeah, like one of my clients, I'll forever remember her because she likes to poke ant beds and watch the ants like scatter and everything.
It's a plot of a movie and like the ants like take over that person. I'm pretty sure. I'll look it up and see. But what?
Probably. Well, she was so unique, and I love her to pieces. But every time I see an ant bed now, I think of her, and I'm like, well, she's probably out there poking more ant beds, I'm sure. But you know, like that's anyway. Like, got me thinking about that article. Like, yeah, like we think of y'all. It's, you know, we don't think about y'all for hours and hours, but we have a thought. We're like, I wonder how that person is doing, and I hope they're doing well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Of course. Especially when there'll a lot of times be people who call the intakes in line and like, it'll be like a month before they end up calling back to get scheduled. And they'll be like, well, I don't know if you remember me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and your daughter Susie, like, you know, it just remember what they share. I mean, because it means so much that they're sharing it, right? Yeah.
Totally. And, you know, your role that you have right now, it reminds me a lot of when I volunteered at a crisis hotline. And yeah, Sarah's like, I think of my clients. I just attribute it to being a heart-led therapist. Yeah. I have a little piece of my heart.
Sarah.
Totally. You're so sweet, Sarah.
You attribute
well, Sarah Bear.
Sarah gets all the treats and all the desserts from her clients. This is what it is. I've seen her.
Freaking know.
How do I join this club?
So your role, it reminds me of the when I was volunteering at this the student counseling helpline back at A&M. We were just a helpline, so it was just people calling us, and we were doing just listening skills. But we couldn't do therapy because like you kind of need a license for that. But it was just as close as we could get to therapy then. And sometimes we would never hear from the callers again. Like, very rarely would we ever hear from the callers again. And so your role kind of reminds me of that in some aspects of like, you don't get closure sometimes. Like, it's like you start a book that doesn't have the ending in it. And you're like, this is a crappy book. Like, why did I even get this book? Like, F this. You know, you're like, why do I sign up for things with no ending? Like, it's hard. It's hard.
I will say in some instances, but again, really like knowing for the most part that they get sent to therapists who are going to take care of them is kind of like the best ending. And I mean that so truly, in that there's so many times where people call into our intakes line and are like, oh yeah, well, you know, my neighbor is seeing so-and-so and they couldn't say enough good things. And so hearing that is like so helpful, because it's just, even if I don't know exactly what that ending looked like for them, like I know that they were with a therapist who completely took care of them. So yeah.
You kind of hear about it, even though it's not directly from you get closure.
Totally. In some instances, some of them.
And like, you did that, Danielle. You get to take credit for. You get to take credit for that. Because they don't get to do the work, the good work. You're such a crucial step. Like, we don't get to do that without you.
Well, I appreciate that, but again, it's easy to refer to y'all. I know you're gonna take care of them. Most important part. People are gonna see this, and it's gonna remind them, like Veronica. I'd be like, are they in a cult? Like, do they work at a? There's like so much. Like, I love that she said that. I've ever heard.
It's like, are these people like? Why are they so weird? Why are they so obsessed with each other? Like, why? Who is Danielle? Is Danielle the cult leader? Like, oh my gosh. Okay, so What are some common stigmas or misconceptions about therapy that you encounter on the intakes line?
Yeah, the biggest one by far is like, well, I can come for 3 sessions and it'll be fixed. Yeah. And I'm like,
No.
how it works. I was like, this is not where you want to be. I mean, a lot of people, well, I think even before I started working at AFC, I didn't really understand, and a lot of people don't understand, that so much of therapy is like about the relationship that you build with the therapist and like forming those healthy connections and relationship that you can like just learn and grow and build from, and that life's going to continue to just throw crap at you like for the rest of your life. There's always going to be like stuff that you should probably process, and so a lot of people don't really think of therapy as sort of a long-term commitment to yourself and to someone else. They more think of it as like, well, my kid's hitting people, or like, I really don't like my job, so I'm going to go talk about these things and then I'll feel better. They think of it like that versus like a long-term thing, which I'm sure you probably get a lot of too.
Yes, I did in the beginning, like especially when I was in the beginning of my associate hours. Sarah's offering to pass around the AFC Kool-Aid.
I love it. I can see her with the little tray. She's like,
it used to happen a lot. Like I encountered that more at the beginning of my associate hours. And what really happened, what changed was me and how I set up the expectations for the sessions. And so I got really good at being like, so I'm not going to be able to fix this in 3 sessions. Like, I'm not going to be able to fix your teen or make them comply with what you want them to do. You're going to have to like give me a couple of months of weekly sessions and then we're going to get somewhere.
yeah, and build that relationship, right? Like,
and that's if I'm a good fit. Yeah.
yeah.
And I always tell them, I'm like, if I'm not a good fit, you need to let me know immediately because I'm happy to find the good fit.
Right. But it's better
Like,
to do 10 like, yeah, this doesn't feel right. But, you know, I also feel that sometimes I had a therapist of my own who wasn't like the best fit for me for individual. And it took me probably about 10 sessions to decide this wasn't a good fit. And as much as that was hard, it was like a growth process even still to like be able to say, you know what, like this isn't a good fit for me and that's okay. So then y'all are like helping them, I swear. But yeah, I hear you that it's a lot of times setting up that expectation of like, not going to be like this and your kid's going to be like fixed and doing everything that you want. Yeah.
I often what I started telling people is if you find someone who is saying that they can like fix your problems in 3 sessions, that's a scam and don't do that. like you don't go there and avoid that person. I'm like, no. I'll save you some money. Don't do that. like that. That's interesting. So like the fix it and 3 sessions. So that's a common one.
A really common one. I'm trying to think if there's any really other big ones. I mean, that's really most of what we get, I would say, is kind of the fix it mentality. The rest of other than that, most people who have called the intakes line have like kind of looked at our website, understand a little bit about what we're about, and kind of get it more. But the fix it's the main one I see.
How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I really just explain it to him because honestly, it's mostly just that, you know, one thing you learn when you're in a field, I mean, I'm sure any field, but therapy too, is that it's like an echo chamber. So we understand the long-term process, but it's because like, you know, that's what we talk about all day, every day. So a lot of times, even just explaining to people, hey, you know, I'm sure you know by now if you're a parent that life's just going to continue to throw it at you. So what about if your kid had this really fun connection with a unbiased third party where they can talk about what's going on and like safe and have that person be there through, I mean, childhood and puberty and teenhood and going into college. And most of the time you explain that to people and they're like, I'm on board. I get it. Because they start to understand, oh, you're right. Like maybe it's good to just have someone to be there for them. So, yeah.
That's cool. So you kind of like get to reframe or present it differently, like give them a different perspective of like, yeah, we're going to get to what you're wanting to get to, of course. And there's like a lot more, this can be a lot more if you allow it to be, and a lot more good things.
Absolutely. And then they come into therapy with the right mindset, right? Instead of being like, okay, time to start therapy and you better be better in 3 sessions, they can kind of have an open mind. Of course, it doesn't always turn out that way and some slip through, but yeah, I think the reframe, like you mentioned, is kind of huge there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So the next question is, part of your job is pairing clients up. Paper moved and it was really big and I kind of got scared because I thought it was a bug. So part of your job, well, Sassy Sarah up here in the comments says, it's my dream to have those lifelong clients. I have seen my therapist since I was 18. I hope to have some lifers too. It's so special. It really is. It's special as well, like not having to go and hustle and go to like a bunch of different therapists, having to retell your story all the time. You know, like that can be so triggering, especially for someone who's just, you know, story is laced with so much trauma.
Yeah, well, to have to retell it and then like also let your therapist know, like, I have done work around this, so like maybe don't have to go into that, you know, like it's so nice to just have someone that, you know, you can come to forever. I remember with my current therapist, she was like, well, what are you looking for in a therapist? And I said, just someone to have like to do all the work that I need to do, but also to have on speed dial for when stuff happens. And I think like, Sarah, I'm sure you already have those clients, but are going to continue. And same with you, Tay. Like having that love, just it's so important.
That's sweet. Okay. Part of your job is pairing clients up with a therapist who is a good fit for the client's needs. Can you share more about how you do this and what that pairing process looks like?
Totally. So, you know, you get a script after doing it for a while.
Sarah cannot stop giving you hearts. Do you see this? And I know there's like 3 people up on this live, but I know that's Sarah. Like, like that is Sarah.
No, Sarah is.
Sorry, I giggled. Okay.
Yeah. So the pairing process, you kind of get a script after enough intakes calls, right? So a lot of times they'll kind of just tell me about what's going on and what they're looking for. And the major pairing ones are going to be, I can't with Sarah and these hearts crack up. The major ones are going to be age group, of course. Like, you know, you're not going to pair a 5-year-old with someone who only sees adults. That's huge no. And so age group is going to be huge. And then from there, I'll do a lot of work with specialty. So there's just a million different things that y'all specialize in. And so after hearing if it's like, oh, kiddo needs emotional regulation or parent needs to work through grief after a divorce or whatever, you know, they're coming in for, we typically have a pretty good fit for them on the team. So we'll go with specialty. And then I think lastly, it's going to be schedule. Just like therapists never hear the end of it with scheduling, but you know, a lot of kiddos need after school. And so sometimes that's one of the most important parts is that they can even get there or get on the Zoom or whatever it looks like. So it's really just kind of a tiered process.
Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of steps to, she goes, honestly though, Danielle, you are so good at matching on personality too. Like, she was like, you are great at matching client personality to therapist personality as well. Totally true. Yeah.
Y'all don't even know how much how happy that makes me because it's tough. It's tough to know that it's a good fit. And so, I mean, I'm so glad to hear that it's been a good fit for y'all in the past, but thank you, Sarah.
I second that.
What's it like? I'm always interested to hear from y'all what it's like to get an intake from me. And like, it's a brand new person you don't even know. What's that experience like?
Well, between the call log and like the intake notes that you leave us and then them doing the intake paperwork, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but we trust you just as much as you trust us with like knowing that client's going to be taken care of. Yeah. I think that same level of trust is reciprocated. And yeah, I mean,
pretty standard client, it sounds like.
Huh?
Pretty standard like client experience for first session. Can you hear me?
Sarcastic? I can't tell.
Oh, I'm serious. It's like a pretty standard like experience of meeting with a first time client, it sounds like.
Well, I mean, it totally depends. Like, I meet with the parents first, so I don't even meet with like I'm like I absolutely meet with your parents first. I don't meet with you until the second session. Like I don't know what Sarah does, but everyone's process is different. But I think you do such a good job on like niche and personality, like Sarah was saying, that like I let you know, like you've given me a lot of like a lot of the ones on my caseload right now are ones that I got from you, like that you paired with me. And I mean, they're not going nowhere. Like they're still working with me, so something's going well.
I love that you're still working with them, but when are you gonna come on green so I can give more clients? Okay,
girl, I'll have to talk to you about that later. I'll have to talk to you about that. We're more to talk about. But okay, so let's see. Okay, I was so excited to ask you this question.
Okay.
So, in your opinion, what do you consider to be the single most important trait, like personality trait, for a therapist to have?
Ooh, that's a good one. Single most important. You know, I think, I don't know the exact word, but it would be like something around word I'm thinking of. I think it's this is terrible. I can't say the word. I think it's pronounced tenacity. Is that how you say it?
Tenacity? I know that's a word, and
okay.
Well, I know it's a word.
I think
what it means, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, give me a descriptor, because I know that what I'm thinking of, but
what makes you think I'm Googling it?
Yeah, I don't know, just the clicking keys, you know, the light changing on your face.
Tenacity, the quality or fact of being able to grip something firmly.
Okay, that's definitely not the one. Okay, is there another one under it?
I could have gone in a pro direction, to be completely honest.
No, it said tenacity.
Wait a minute. Okay, persistence.
Yeah, that's it. So in my experience, when someone's tenacious, it means that they just like don't give up. And why I say that is because therapists, like, you know, I mean, y'all go through so much crap, right? Like in session, out of session, trying to get people, not trying to get them to share, but like listening to their story and helping them to feel comfortable. Like that doesn't always happen in like in 10 sessions, in 20 sessions. Sometimes you just have to like keep trying forever and ever and ever until that client feels ready. Mm-hmm. So that, and that you guys have a lot of tough clients, and you have a lot of maybe clients that don't go the way that you would always want them to. You know, some people don't feel ready for therapy, and that's okay. But I think that can be really tough for therapists, because in essence, you're selling yourself in therapy sessions. You're selling an experience with you. And so I think therapists have to be tenacious, because y'all know what you're doing and you're good at what you do, but you have to be the one to be like the lighthouse in the storm for these clients, and just really be in your efforts to help them. So that'd be my quality. But not firmly gripping.
You're leaving me speechless over here. But not what?
Not firmly gripping. That's not what I meant.
Perseverance is another word, and Sarah said it too.
Resiliency. Yes,
like that push through resiliency. Yeah. That's a very good point. Again, you're surprising me with you're just surprising me, Danielle. But you're so right. Like, our job really is hard. And I was just talking with Mike and Smaya yesterday, and I was like, no one else gets it the way another therapist does, or in you, because you're in it with us, right? But our job is hard, and it's hard also because we can't make someone be ready for something. We could see what we need to work on from like a mile away sometimes, but if they are not there yet, then we also don't go there.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it depends on your therapeutic modality, but that you're using. Some will, but yeah. And are there any honorable mentions that you would throw in there around the personality traits?
Yeah. I like the one Sarah said, which is in the similar vein of resiliency. I think that's huge, important. I think also, oh gosh, there's just so many qualities that y'all need, right? Like, I feel like there's so many helpful qualities, but really the ability to, and I guess non-judgmental is kind of the word that's coming to mind for me, like the ability to sit with your clients and just accept what they're feeling, because a lot of times they can't accept it, or that's something they're working on, is how to accept what they're feeling. And so to have that constant judge-free, like unconditional acceptance is one of the biggest parts, I think, of therapy. So I would say resiliency and acceptance, or like non-judgment, would be huge.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you think? I'm interested to hear what you think.
Along the same vein, empathetic too, self-aware. There are some very like I think that's a soapbox. I need to get off. I need to leave the can of worms closed over there. But there's some therapists who, just because they're a therapist doesn't mean they're a good therapist.
Totally. I want a live from you about.
You want what?
I want a live stream from you about that soapbox of like the self-awareness piece, because that countertransference piece, woo! I would love to hear a Taylor interviewed Tay Talk about that.
Goodness, I'll put it on the idea list. I just need to know what people are interested in, because yeah. Okay, let me find my spot. Okay, so we're getting close to the end, and I know we have about 8-9 more minutes left. So in your own words, can you describe the right fit when it comes to the client therapist relationship, if you were to tell someone on the intakes line that asked you about that?
Yeah. So one thing I always say on the intakes line is, if you go to your first session and it doesn't feel like the right fit, or you go to a couple sessions and you just think that this is not the right connection, you don't vibe, call me back. We'll switch you. And so I say that to say, I can't really describe the right fit because it's different for everyone. I know everyone describes it as like dating, and I think that's so true, in that there's just a connection. There's some people who, like you and I, we could probably talk for 4 hours. We have talked for 4 hours at a time. And there's some people that you're like, so the weather, the rain, and it just doesn't work. It's just not a connection. We all have that. And so I think the right fit is whatever makes the client feel ready and open and comfortable with sharing and doing the work.
That's a really good way of putting that. And do you have you ever had someone call you back?
Typically there's a waiting period. So typically they'll see the therapist, they'll kind of maybe ghost them, feel a little bad about it, wait for a month or two, and then come back.
I see.
Not usually a direct turnaround, because they y'all too, even if it's not a good fit, they still know your people. And but we do have it once in a while. Yeah.
That's good. Well, I'm at least glad they called back. You know, yes, we're people, and also we are. We do know that it's not about us. Like at the end of the day, if it's not us that we connect with, we want to pair you up with the person that you do connect with.
Yeah, that it's a good fit with. Totally.
So you have some specific questions, Danielle.
Okay.
One that I got for you was, do you have any good activity suggestions for or good activities to navigate grief in elementary aged kiddos?
So I love working with elementary age kiddos in grief. I think that you want to see a brave human being. It's an elementary age kid who lost someone. Like they are just, oh, I'll get waterworks about it because they're so resilient, brave, and going through so much. But for tools, I would say a lot of the time, the best thing that you can do if possible is to get into their world. So I would do the volunteer group at the Center for Grief and Loss, and they're so good at letting us kind of be flexible and creative with what we do. So for one kiddo, he really, really loves Minecraft. And so for part of the group, he got to talk about like his Minecraft world and like what he designed and like made from it. And it did lead into a deeper conversation about his loved one that he lost. And I think so many kids don't have a place where an adult cares about what they care about. And so I would say whatever you can do to get into their world and really see things from their perspective is going to be so helpful.
That's great. That's meeting them where they're at.
Yes, absolutely. That's why that's how to phrase it. Yep.
What's the well, I just lost my whole entire place. Okay. What is the best and most challenging part of leading a grief and loss group?
So right now it's on the most challenging is that it's on Zoom. So working with working with kiddos on Zoom is just not sometimes it just dissolves into like the chat blowing up with like them typing like poop or like foot or whatever weird word a million times. You gotta work with what you got. It's just, you work with it. So that would be the most challenging. And then I think the best is just giving them someone else, a peer who has experienced something similar. So I also lost my dad when I was 13. And so one of the like big important parts of that time is that you feel so alone and like no one else has lost a loved one. Like there's no way because no one at your school is like openly talking about it or anything like that. And so at grief group, they have other kids who a lot of times actually they go to the same school with who they're like, oh my gosh, you have like also experienced this. And like, no. That's the best part for sure.
You're helping forge those connections through like ways that, I mean, just in the group.
Yeah.
That they take outside of the group and keep that going. That's so cool.
It's such a cool group. I love the Grief Center. It's amazing. So
that's so cool. I feel like I need to start another live with you, like in the future of you just talking about that. And I have two more questions.
Okay.
One's a funny, and then one's the last one, and we'll wrap up on that.
Okay, I'm ready.
So the funny one that I had blacked out for so you wouldn't see it is Timothy would like to know when you're going to ask her to be your matron of honor.
So I will marry Timothy, to be honest with you. Timothy Morris, I just planned my whole wedding and I would absolutely enter the keys or the PIN number to my bank account and be like, go. And it would be the best wedding that you have ever seen. So obviously she's right. I don't know why I haven't asked her yet. I've made a huge egregious error in this area. Oh my gosh. I'm waiting for her to become the LPCS so that I can officially ask her to be my supervisor. But we'll see when that day comes.
You have a question in the chat about your Starbucks order.
So maybe other people, actually, the PP group really threw some shade on me because I don't drink coffee because it makes me anxious. But they were like, oh, people who don't drink coffee, blah, 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 they think they're superior. Anyway, I don't drink coffee. I drink matcha. So I get a venti iced matcha latte at Starbucks, and it's so good. It's amazing. Yeah.
And if someone, and we'll end it, we're going to end it right after this question because I forgot to turn an alarm off on my phone at 9, and I don't want it to boot up this live and then we lose this live. So we're gonna have to like hustle because oh my god. So okay. If someone watching this video now or in the future is on the fence about starting therapy, what would you say to them? I would say,
so you're ready. I would say it is scary. It's a tough process, and I think that whenever you are ready is going to be the right time to process this stuff, but it's going to be the best decision of your life, and it's going to change your entire life. The end.
Great answer. Mic drop. Okay. Well, lady, thank you for your time on this Friday evening, and thank you for every single freaking thing that you do for us. Thank you for existing. Thank you for just crossing paths with Austin Family when you did, because you single-handedly are impacting a lot of us, all of us. And we credit, you're a hallmarker in our career journeys. No pressure. We rightfully credit a lot to you. So, but just thank you so much. And thank you all for tuning in to episode 4, part 2. You'll be able to catch us next Friday at the same time, 7 p.m. And thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Thanks.
Have a good evening. Bye.